Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Managing Madrid Podcast. We got a giant episode coming for you guys today. We're going to review all the Real Madrid players in the World Cup. And believe it or not, this episode has 5 parts. There are 5 different segments. So part 1, Musa Okwonga is going to come on to talk about Jude Bellingham in England. Part 2, Phil Kitro of the Spanish Football Podcast is going to come on to talk about Cucurella and Spain. Part 3, we got Siavoush Fallahi, who is Serie A expert, who's going to come on and talk about Dumfries. And then part 4, we got Ahmet Bob Torgut, a.k.a. the Turkish Football Podcast, to talk about Güler in Turkey. And then the last part of this episode, Matt Wiltse is going to come on. We're going to put a bow on the whole thing. We're going to do a winners and losers segment with regards to Real Madrid players at the World Cup. So we're going to go through every Real Madrid player who played at the World Cup, including Endrick, including Nico Paz even. And we're going to say whether they were a winner or a loser of the tournament. Sounds harsh, but it's just a gimmick. It's just basically a launching pad for conversing about these people and knowing, just how Matt and I are. We also branch out to other topics like Rodri, for example. So stay tuned until the very end. I hope you guys enjoy this episode as much as I had fun recording it. Before we start, we wanted to just say thank you to our sponsor who made this episode happen, who makes so many of our episodes possible. Guys, Moji Mates, that's the best place to go to if you want swag. Go to moji-mates.com. And even though the World Cup is over, the World Cup discount is over, you can use code MM15OFF for 15% off. So that code is still applicable. Go to moji-mates.com and use code MM15OFF for 15% off. Once again, moji-mates.com, use code MM15OFF. Without further ado, let's jump in. Here comes part 1 with Musa.
Nice article in the Managing Madrid blog. Wonderful lads that do a great job there. And worth reading about that man there. Karim Benzema needs to rest, and the numbers reveal why.
Times ended up almost looking like a 6-3-1. Some very good writing about that on the Managing Madrid website. First-rate podcast as well. Of course, Fede Valverde was a huge part of the equation.
Welcome, everyone, to the Jude Bellingham section of this podcast. Very anticipated. I know a lot of you guys have asked for Musa Okwonga to appear on this podcast more than he does. This is his second appearance, I believe. I can't keep asking him because I don't want to abuse my friendship with him too much. I know he's a busy man. He's well wanted. He's an author. He's the co-founder of Stadio, a podcast that many of you guys listen to already. Writer at The Ringer, British GQ, and much more. Musa Okwonga is here. His handles are also on the screen. How you doing, Musa? Good to see you.
Great, man. Listen, Kiyan, great to see you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I think the World Cup is over and I had a great time. Honestly. It was an incredible World Cup, all things considered.
It was a vibe, wasn't it? And obviously Madrid had their challenges, but they can take some credit for creating the ecosystem that led Spain to win this. They're a huge part of the Spanish story, obviously, and Spain won playing a quintessential Spanish style, and actually a team that I tipped from the beginning of the tournament, not because I'm some kind of clairvoyant, but because the ability of Spain to control games, particularly in hot countries, is just, it's a get out of jail card, man. Like, if you have a team that can just keep the ball for 5 minutes, and then when they lose the ball, give you like really terrible possession and win it back 10 seconds later, like, that's almost unbeatable, man.
What Spain did, not only to Argentina, but also France and throughout the tournament, was incredible. It was mind-blowing domination, and they thoroughly deserved everything that came to them. I do think, from a Real Madrid perspective, that's a very kind reframe to say that Real Madrid has some hand in the Spanish national team. But I will say, from a Real Madrid standpoint, I think individually speaking, the players that were representing them at the World Cup, not necessarily with Spain, obviously, but you think about Jude Bellingham and Mbappe and Vinicius and these players, even like players who got eliminated a little bit earlier, like Dumfries. These guys, Cucurella, obviously now had a terrific World Cup, but they it showed like a lot of Real Madrid fans like, hold on, okay, so we've been struggling for 2 years, but our players are this good. So
Yes.
how is this not fitting? And I think the Jude Bellingham discussion was fascinating because, and this is why I wanted to speak to you and nobody else,
Mm.
because you understand, and you get it. You have always been on the right side of history with Jude Bellingham. You and I have, you and I have had private discussions about Jude Bellingham and the crazy dialogue that surrounds him. I guess maybe can you walk us through what was going through your head, not only seeing some of the conversations that were had about him before the World Cup, and to be fair, a minority of the media, wasn't the majority, but a loud minority
Mm.
of the
The
media.
loud minority, yeah.
Yeah. And then also just maybe seeing them kind of run out of excuses to slander him as the tournament wore on.
You know, it's so incredible that Jude Bellingham, first of all, like we know now that he is the player to have scored, the English player, the Englishman who scored the most goals at an individual World Cup, 7 goals, right? And there was something about even the final goal that he scores against France. Like he effectively walks the ball into the net. Like,
Wow.
and it felt like such a powerful closing argument statement to anybody that had any conversations about this guy in their head, about what he was capable of. He is the only player in the England team who could have scored that goal. The only player, because there are other players who might argue have the same level of technique or the same level of physical strength, or maybe some of the vision, but nobody has all three. Nobody has the combination of factors he brings to the table, and watching the excuses, watching the arguments fall away one by one as for why he was not the dominant player in that team, the most important force. I said to friends after the Mexico game, I said, look, whether or not England win the World Cup, that is a World Cup winning caliber performance. That is a performance of which any player on the planet would have been proud. Rodri would have steered Spain to a win over Mexico in those conditions. It would look very different, but it would have been an equal. There would not have been a higher peak that Rodri would have been forced to go to, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah.
what's astonishing about Bellingham is the goals do not begin to tell the story of the World Cup that he had. He scored 2 goals against Mexico, and the clearance off the line was the most impressive part of it.
Yeah.
Who else does that? Who else in world football does what he does at both ends? I don't see it.
And I think that's where people kind of miss the point when they discuss him, because if he doesn't, Musa, if he doesn't have goals or assists in a game, then they look at that and they look at the stat sheet, be like, oh, he had a bad game.
Right.
And I think the goal line clearance obviously is something huge. I can't remember exactly what the numbers were, but from that game in particular in Mexico, beyond all the reasons why it was impressive, because it was the Azteca, because they were down a man, because they needed someone to dig deep and find something, right? They needed some leadership. They needed some guy to unearth something and transcend the moment, and he did. But he also, you look at it as like his tackles and interceptions,
The ball recoveries,
ball recoveries, chances created.
I think he had more defensive contributions, or as many as he had completed passes. Like he has like 16 completed passes out of like about 20 attempts, right? He basically virtually does not have the ball in 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And the defensive work is off the scale. And I love that you mentioned defensive work. There was a thing I was doing in my WhatsApp that my friends will tell you when they see you. Like, I was screenshotting his defensive contributions and putting them in the chat. In games where he'd scored like 1 or 2 goals, I would just send the defensive stats saying, this is what Bellingham actually did.
Yeah.
This is what he actually did in this game of football. I mean, it's what he is doing. We have not seen what he's doing in football since the days of Ruud Gullit. We haven't seen it.
Yeah.
We haven't seen it.
Then here, I just pulled up the numbers really quick, but that Mexico game, Musa, so obviously the game-winning goal, the assist.
Very few passes completed because he's just defending most of the game. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know if now I'm pulling this up from the Mexico game or a different game in my notes, but he had the most key passes of anyone on the field, most completed dribbles, most tackles. And then, the game-winning goal, he had an assist. Was that the Mexico game? I'm pulling this up from my notes. I can't remember. But it's funny that, I can't even remember which game it was, because he had a terrific tournament. And I love that you brought up Ruud Gullit, because it's fitting. That guy has gone to back defending Jude himself.
That's fascinating.
Right? Like, I remember he was in the studio with Richard Keys, and Richard Keys was saying Bellingham he's a problem, his attitude, all this. And Gillett went on a long rant about how like you cannot just make up this stuff about Jude with no proof, and how important Jude is on the football pitch and what he's done. Like, and I think it's great because like we always have trouble measuring Jude Bellingham, like who do we compare him to and all this. Gillett is a great comparison. I kind of like to put it this way, Musa, because some people struggle too. Like they say, oh, he's not a midfielder, so stop saying he's the best midfielder in the world. It's a little bit similar to like saying Marcelo's not a left back because he has such great offensive stats, right?
Right.
No, he's a left back. It's just that he does a lot of the offensive stuff better than some attackers do on top of that. You know what I mean?
Thank you for mentioning this. And another left back, Roberto Carlos, right?
Yeah.
Madrid fans will know that if you looked at the lineup of Madrid at that period when Roberto Carlos was there, Zidane was able to play inside left.
Yes.
Because Carlos had the entire flank. They would give that man 80 meters to do all his defensive work. And of course, Roberto Carlos, not only was he a great defender one-on-one, he was so fast that he always made at least one recovery tackle. Like, so yes, he enveloped in the same way that Maldini was a left back. He dominated the entire left wing.
Yes.
Like that's what we're dealing with here, like spatial domination.
Roberto Carlos actually is probably a better example than Marcelo because Roberto Carlos actually was better defensively than Marcelo, and he could cover ground, and he would still make the last-ditch tackle in addition to doing all that offensive stuff. Yeah,
unbelievable.
And I think that's where people struggle, like just measuring him because they see the offensive stats. That makes sense.
I think it's frightening as well because, look, there's many reasons why people don't want to give it to Jude Bellingham. Some people are turned off by his attitude for cultural reasons. Others are turned off by it for racial reasons. Sometimes there's an overlap of that, whatever. But whatever the reasons are, I think it's difficult for a footballing nation that has accepted second best so long, whether consciously or subconsciously, to see the actual finished article. It can feel quite confronting and actually quite ugly for some people. Like, this is what swagger looks like. This is what winning looks like. Look, if Messi talked more, if Messi actually spoke like the smack that was in his head, or that he whispers to players, that we know that Messi talks smack because we hear it when he's playing as Espanyol. Paul Lopez will tell you that Messi talks smack, right? Like, Bellingham just says it, and this is the difference. It's just not a PR thing. It's unvarnished. Yes. Bellingham is more like a Novak Djokovic, right? Bellingham will tell you like how good he is. And actually, do you know what? We need more of that in the England team. We need a bit more of that. We need more. We need more. I mean, Cucurella gets hell. He gets more than he deserves, but we need more Cucurella, actually. We need more grit in the oyster. What do they call it in Spain? They call it the dirty milk. We need more of the dirty milk.
Listen, and you have to have it. If you don't, it's going to be really hard. Like against Argentina, Bellingham was not backing down against anyone. And you need people like that to go to war.
Can I throw this in to interrupt, actually? It's very fitting you mentioned Argentina and not backing down, because the person that brings the World Cup out is Sergio Ramos.
Yes.
For the presentation. Yes. That is so fitting.
Yeah.
Like when Trump is standing there, I was like, you people think, a supervillain is. No, that right there, Sergio, having the time for his, looking great, by the way, having time for his life. That's the level. You need that energy in and around your squad. And guaranteed that energy was in this Spain squad that won this World Cup. Guaranteed it was there.
There's no player probably we miss more than Sergio Ramos in general. It's like,
unquestionably.
Just the guy that, like, I can't think of a better guy that I just want on my team leading me into war than that guy. Yeah, definitely.
It's him, isn't it? The guy that understood not only Madrid, but understood that trophy in particular, the champion.
Yeah.
What he's got tattoos of it, hasn't he?
I believe he does. I lost track of the tattoos he has, but yeah, he does. He does have one or two. I can't remember if it was you or someone else that said this, and it stuck with me, that I think Bellingham's confidence just offends people for some reason.
I think it does. It does. Yeah, sorry, I'm being rude. Carry on.
No. That was it.
I think it offends people. Look, some just don't like it. They don't find it sort of English. But I remember other English players, white players, who had that same level of swagger, and people loved it. They loved it. Yeah. Like, even when it was, like, in quotes, obnoxious, they loved it. And I think it's coming from a guy like Bellingham. A lot of people don't like it. Now, look, I'm not saying that's the only reason to dislike Jude Bellingham. I'm not saying that everyone that's turned off by some of the arrogance shouldn't be turned off by it. I'm also saying that these are the margins sometimes that get you the trophies. This level of swag, this level of confidence, like this level of screw it, I'm going to go off and do it by myself. Kylian Mbappe had it, and it looked spectacular. And also, we just say that is what Mbappe looks like as a 9 in a functional attack. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Right. And actually, in that context, that can accommodate a Vinicius Junior. Actually, Vinicius Junior can be accommodated with Mbappe playing as a 9 when he's happy. I've never bought the argument those two can't play together. I think they're a devastating attacking force when harnessed properly. But neither Vinicius for Brazil or Mbappe for Madrid, let's be honest, got the configuration, got the team they really deserved. I'm not sure how the Mourinho experiment's going to work. I'm not convinced by it. I think it's going to be, my personal view is, it's going to be Toni Kroos that gets that team really running properly.
Toni Kroos?
Yeah, I think so. I think he coaches Madrid at some point. I just have a feeling he's going to
sign me up. Can we fast forward to that timeline?
But can you not see it? Can you not? Does it not make perfect sense though?
Listen, it would be great. I remember Kroos's reasonings for retiring the time he did, apart from wanting to retire at the top. He also said he was just so tired of all the traveling. He just wanted to go at his own pace. He said if football didn't involve traveling so much, he would probably still be playing. And I'm like, and coaching Real Madrid is like the
I think it's going to
stress
I
test.
can see he loves Madrid.
Sure.
He clearly watches a ton of football. And look, we thought that Jurgen Klopp was done with coaching, and now he's back for Germany.
Sure.
Right?
Maybe you just need a break sometimes, for sure.
I think he needs a break. But he's keeping a close eye on football, a close eye on Madrid. Him and Bellingham are close. I think Mbappe would listen to him tactically. So would Vinicius. He has the respect of those people. I think it'll be like his Zidane Mark II if he does it.
So I was that when you said that Vinicius and Mbappe can work if harnessed properly, I felt that way before we signed Mbappe. I was like, this is gonna work because we saw Mbappe work with Neymar, who was a left winger. We saw Vinicius coexist with Benzema, and Benzema likes to drop deep a lot, like Mbappe does. And then over the last 2 years, I lost my confidence in that take slowly because I just kept watching it and I was like, nope, this is not working. Nope, it's not going to work. And now my confidence is pretty low on that, to be honest with you. But Mourinho, this is why Mourinho gets paid the big bucks to observe all of this and hopefully come in and do something about it. But it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy.
It's not going to be easy, but it won't be as hard as you think, right? You got Cucurella coming in. What does that allow what does that allow Vinicius to do? A bit less defending.
Sure.
Right? Allows him to combine very, very well. You've got Dumfries coming in. What does that allow? Dynamism on the right flank. So all of a sudden you've got these two fullbacks pushing high who can also defend and get back. They're basically like wing back energy. You've got Trent in the mix. Goodness knows what his career is going to look like eventually, but you've got an incredible pass there as an option. What you really need actually in that Madrid team is somebody to advance the ball better through midfield. That was why you've got Bernardo Silva as a stopgap. But basically, that goal that Spain score against France, this is going to sound really pretentious, is one of the most important goals of the World Cup in terms of Rodri's role. If you look what Rodri does in that move, he brings it from deep, 2 different points. I think the second touch he gets, someone's pressing him. He nips it forward to a defensive midfielder, then he advances the ball. Tchouaméni in the same game, the way he struggled to create those passing angles out from the back.
Yes.
And it's just not his thing. He's a defensive midfielders, and he's a very, very good defensive midfielder. They can't just control space. They have to advance space and build passing lanes up the field. And he doesn't do that to the same level. And that's what you need, actually.
1,000,000% agreed. And Real Madrid fans are losing their minds right now because Rodri is begging to join Real Madrid.
Oh, no. That's terrifying if he does.
Well, and Florentino seems like he's not interested at all. And I think it's partly because Rodri was linked with Enrique Riquelme's project, the opposing president who ran against Florentino.
Interesting.
So I think there's some politics behind it, but Real Madrid fans are just basically begging, please just sign him. He's right there. He wants to go to Real Madrid. Don't make
that fixes 80% of the problems.
Yeah, he's the profile we need. I think part of the problem is also that we renewed Tchouaméni just a few weeks ago to a new contract. So I think someone would have to move. I don't know. It'd be really fascinating to see what Mourinho is thinking about all this, right? So, yeah, I wanted to. We only have a couple minutes left. I just wanted to circle back to Bellingham in England for 1 second. Get your opinion about something. all things considered, I know England didn't win the World Cup, nor did they win the Euros, but they did get to the Euro final. They were a hair away, and then they were a hair away from the World Cup final as well. Still pretty impressive, I would say, all things considered. I know like success sometimes is more black and white than that, but sometimes it's not. And I think it's impressive that they got this far in both those tournaments. I would love to know what you thought about what happened to England after Gordon scored against Argentina, and how they pulled back like that, and Argentina just chipped back into it. What did you think about that?
I think there's a couple of things. They sensed the moment and they became terrified of it, which is fine. It happens. Okay, so let me just put something else in context. So I was watching the game on German comms live, and then I watched it back the next day on English comms to get a different perspective. And it was interesting because Alan Shearer, when they take the lead, Alan Shearer was like, oh, it's the most important 50 minutes of their lives. And I was like, there's the problem, right? You played for England, and that would have been your mentality if you were playing for them. 50, no, the most important 50 minutes of your lives hasn't happened yet because you're not in the World Cup final, right? The mentality has to be that this is just another game of football. And then the World Cup actually itself is just another game of football. Danny Olmo, before the final, was like we're not going to let this, we've got to keep calm. Rodri was like, under no circumstances do we give up. The pre-match, like Spain chat is incredible. These players haven't played in World Cup finals before, but they're ready for it, right? England weren't taught collectively, individually to be ready for the moment, right? There should have been a psychological game plan for when you go 1-0 up in the World Cup semi-final, there need to be like automatisms. If you go 1-0 up in the World Cup final, you literally have to be like, here is the field position I'm standing in when we go 1-0 up. Like literally like rinse and repeat. So for example, we go 1-0 up in the World Cup final, the ball goes to our right back, he hits a diagonal, and Rashford, who's been brought on in place of Gordon, who's tiring now, gets that, takes on his man, and Rashford, your job is to run at the centre-backs and get one yellow card. Your job is not to score, your job is not to assist, your job is to win a yellow card off one of those defenders. That needs to be the game plan, and England didn't have that. And the damning indictment of Tuchel, I think, he talked about English DNA, it's not in them. Look, it is your job. As a coach, it's your job to give your players new habits. And some said to me, oh yeah, he only coaches them a few times a year. So does Luis de la Fuente. And some go, oh, well, you're brought up playing the Spanish way. Look, the Spanish way as a success is only very new in international tournaments. Spain haven't been that dominant for that long. For goodness sake, it's not long since the days of Luis Aragonés when he was like, how many tournaments has Raul been to with the national team? How many has he won? 0. Yeah. That was Spain. That was Spain until 2008.
Yeah.
So let's not talk as if it's impossible to fix these psychological English problems. And look, frankly, all I think, I'm not saying even the first sub was wrong, just to kind of round off this point, because I know that we're coming to an end. At 82 minutes, with 8 minutes of normal time, they sub off Declan Rice for Dan Burn when they could have brought on Kobbie Mainoo. All they had to do was survive 8 minutes of normal time and a couple more in extra time, and they were fine. They were over the line. No one was saying it had to be a Barcelona-era masterclass. No one was saying it had to be 2012 Real Madrid, like, you know, spectacular counter-punching. All they were saying was you had to last 8 minutes. And I firmly believe that if Scaloni or De La Fuente was coaching that team in those last 8 minutes, they hold out.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what I believe.
Agree. No, I think you're bang on. 100% agree. I think it would have been two different approaches, but Spain would have killed the game off with control, and Argentina just know how to defend and suffer better than any other team.
Totally.
I think.
Well, Scaloni said that he was afraid of England bringing on Saka or Rashford or both.
Yes.
He literally had planned for it, and it never happened.
Yeah.
So there it is.
It's a shame. As somebody who wanted England to advance to the final, I was pretty gutted, as I'm sure a lot of British people were. But you know, I guess it's one of those lessons you learn.
What I will say as well is, for all the talk of like, oh my God, we can't do this again. England at the beginning of a golden age for them. Bellingham's young, Anderson's young, Saka is slightly older, but still is going to be around for a while. And there's something about this new generation of England players. They're going to be a threat for the next couple of World Cups. The only problem is Spain and France are right there.
Yeah.
And they're not going anywhere.
No. Yeah, definitely. I still think, like, if unfortunately for England, somehow I think they scored that goal too early. if that goal came like 15 minutes later,
Yes, you're right.
I think it would have been better for them. But it was too early for all that stuff to happen for them. Musa, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. You
Always
know you're
pleasure,
welcome
man.
on this podcast any single time you want. This is
We've been
your
trying
podcast.
to get also listeners. Been trying to get this man on Stadio for like the last few months, but the schedules have not aligned. But we'll get you on. Maybe
it would be an honor.
Let's just put this on the record. Let's say once Mourinho's got a few months under his belt and we can get a greater sense of what's happening at Madrid, we'll get you in to talk about Mourinho so far at the Bernabeu.
Before Christmas, maybe?
Look, actually, assuming he's still there by then.
Oh, God. What a disaster if he's gone by then. Imagine? Oh, my God. We've suffered enough, Musa, for 2 years.
You have. You really
no
have.
No more coach firings, please. We need.
Actually, let's try and pencil that in. Let's try and get you in before Christmas, actually, to see how the first few months of the Mourinho project are going. Because it'll be really interesting. Yeah.
If since it's on record, listeners, if you haven't heard me on Stadio by then, please spam Musa's DMs.
Come on, exactly. Listen, go for it.
All right, thank you, Musa. I appreciate you.
My pleasure, man. Much love. Speak soon. Take care. Bye.
All right, everyone, it's time for the Marc Cucurella section of this mega podcast. We got Phil Kitro on the show right now, commentator for La Liga. He's a La Liga correspondent for CBS Sports Golazo, host of the TSFP podcast, and also a Champions League reporter for football on TNT. Very, very busy man, so we're very lucky to have him. Phil Kitro, how you doing?
What's up, man? All good, all good.
This will be the last thing you have to do, hopefully, before you go on holiday and rest and recharge. I tell you, my new favorite thing is you walking around and doing social media clips, World Cup analysis. Big fan of that. Yeah.
We took a while for us to realize that we should maybe start doing that on our podcast Instagram feed. But it's gone quite well, so maybe I'll have to keep doing that.
Well, I know you were very busy during the World Cup covering Spain. I think what was interesting to me, Phil, is that, and you mentioned this quite a few times in your analysis, that this is a team. You know, there were a lot of brilliant individual players in this tournament. And yet, you know, Spain faced one of those teams filled with individual talent in France and just made their incredible attack disappear. And so much of Spain has been talking about how they control the ball and their cohesion in attack. This turned out to be the best defense in World Cup history, statistically speaking. Only one goal conceded. It's unbelievable. So I'm wondering if you can just talk about Spain's unity, the team, and De La Fuente's selections, and then maybe we can transition to Cucurella.
I mean, he just got everything right. De La Fuente, literally all the big calls that he made, he got right. Starting off with the goalkeeper. Certainly in Spain, maybe some of us journalists, people around the world of Spanish football tried to make a debate about who should be in goal. What a great season David Raya's had. Joan Garcia has been the best goalkeeper in La Liga. Shouldn't they be starting? And De La Fuente was like, no, there is no debate. Unai Simon is my keeper. And he was vindicated in that. He wasn't necessarily forced into too many saves, but he was absolutely brilliant when called upon to come out of his box and just be really, really authoritative in key moments. The centre-back pairing, we didn't really know 100% what the centre-back pairing was going to be. Took a big call and dropped Robin Lenormand, who was the player that he'd used literally the most during his tenure as Spain manager, and said, no, sorry, you haven't played enough. You haven't played well enough this season. You're not coming. Started Pau Cubarsí alongside Laporte. Laporte hadn't had a great season for Athletic Club, but he's like, no, these are my two guys. That went brilliantly. And then the fullbacks, you know, maybe Cucurella was the only one that wasn't any doubt about his place in the team, because Pedro Porro didn't start the first game, did he? Marcos Llorente did against Cape Verde, and he wanted something else from that position, and he found it in Pedro Porro, and he continued to give it throughout the tournament. And Cucurella was maybe the one sort of constant, the one definite in that back four and back five, including the goalkeeper, and he performed as everybody kind of expected him to perform. And on a sort of a personal level as well, having just signed for Real Madrid, which was obviously a bit of a huge thing for him. I think the manager dealt with that pretty well too. So yeah, it was just a masterclass in squad management and big decision making from De La Fuente.
When Real Madrid signed Cucurella, I think it was before they had played their first game in the World Cup, Spain, that is.
Yeah.
It came out of nowhere. No one expected it, and Real Madrid fans were kind of confused about it, but ultimately happy. Just personally speaking, I'd love to get your opinion on it. When we signed him, I thought that's great. He's a player I hate playing against, which means he's a player I would love to have on my team. But I didn't know he was this good. I thought he was incredible during the World Cup. How important was he?
Yeah. He was fantastic. Because he can kind of do everything, but also, he's got the level of competitiveness, that physical edge, which I think you need. I think the Spain team certainly need it. Maybe that's not quite as important in Real Madrid, where there are other players that can bring that as well. But in the Spain team, he was definitely important in that aspect. And he can just do everything. Sort of going forward, he can be very effective. He gets back, he defends, positioning is very good. He's strong, he's aggressive, he's a great teammate as well, and he's a really, really awkward, annoying, horrible opponent. So I think it's a terrific signing and strategically done very well by Real Madrid just before he has the tournament of his life, to just sort of elevate the signing and get people even more excited. Because on paper, when you look at it, when the signing was made, you're like, okay, when another left back, okay. So, I mean, he's good, but that position seems relatively well covered. But fine, bring him in, whatever. And now it looks like a great bit of business. So yeah, I think he's definitely going to improve the Real Madrid starting 11, not just the squad. I think he's going to improve the starting 11.
Well, I don't know if you saw that he had that quote about Vinicius won't need to defend. I'll do everything so that he can attack. And that was music to everybody's ears, to have someone,
particularly Vinicius.
Yeah, especially Vinicius. But I just think that, he seems like a very classic Mourinho type player, right?
Yes.
What did you make of some of the noise before the tournament of the Real Madrid players not making it? Carreras was a candidate. Obviously, seeing this tournament now, he wouldn't even play the second. Forget about it. Housen, I think that was pretty much it. There was like
Carvajal,
yeah, barely played, not in form. There were like minor shouts for Gonzalo Garcia.
Yeah. I was
playing enough.
Listen, the noise comes because it's Real Madrid, because it's the biggest club in the world, and obviously in the Spanish media as well. There are lots of people who talk a lot about Real Madrid. I think there was genuinely no real argument to be made for any of those players given on form. And I would say, of those four, hard to know. I mean, maybe even Gonzalo, in terms of form, but really, him or Borja Iglesias. And there was something that De La Fuente said. He constructed this squad, obviously bringing them players that he thought were the best players, but he also did it in terms of personality as well. He was like, I'm bringing a squad together to be able to live together for 6 weeks. And I'm not questioning any of those guys' personalities that we've just mentioned. I'm sure they're all absolutely lovely, charming young men. But
yeah,
that was something that was taken into consideration as well. So maybe more to do with the people that he did bring, i.e., people like Borja Iglesias, who didn't necessarily play that much, but is a terrific teammate to have around. So I wasn't surprised at all, and I was surprised that people were surprised that Real Madrid didn't have any players in the initial squad before Cucurella's signing.
Yeah, realistically, Real Madrid just doesn't have enough Spanish players, and especially Spanish players that were playing at that level that needed to be played. I thought Housen was pretty good in the second half.
Yeah.
But you can't, like you said in the beginning of the show, he's completely vindicated in his selections. You can't argue with anything. It's not that they were champions; they were by far the best team. Yeah, and they've been good for a long time. Just wanted to close with this one. I would like to get your thoughts on Rodri. Real Madrid fans are basically they're gonna ride in the street outside Florentino's house if he doesn't sign Rodri.
He's not going to sign him. He's not going to
Do you
sign him.
think?
He's not going to sign him. I genuinely think he's not going to sign him, obviously. I think he's going to dig his heels in. And he's a player that obviously Real Madrid have. He is the player that Real Madrid have needed for a while. Last summer, I was going on about them getting Martin Zubimendi, but, that would have been, Rodri would have been better than Martin Zubimendi. But I think Florentino will just not make that signing. It's like, in terms of, I don't want to say ego, but in terms of just like optics for him, it would just, for him personally, he would feel like this is not a good look for me to be signing the guy that the major rival promised to deliver. And also, if you take it back to the 2024 Ballon d'Or as well, he won it ahead of Vinicius. The whole club were absolutely incensed at that, the massive sort of unilateral decisions that they took because of that. I think he would be the signing for Real Madrid, the obvious signing. I think he is very up for it as well, and I don't think it's going to happen. Sorry.
What a sad way to end the interview.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Devastating. Look, I hope you're wrong. But you may not.
I hope I'm wrong. I want to see him in La Liga again. I think he's an extraordinary player, and it feels like he's up for it. He's definitely up for it. It should happen. So hopefully, I'm completely wrong. I don't have any inside information. This is just my gut feeling and going off what I've seen in the past and what I've heard from people close to Florentino as well, of his sort of personality and character and behavior over the years. I just don't think this is a signing that he will make. But fingers crossed I'm wrong and we see him in La Liga and it'll be great.
Well, La Liga starts next month, so it's nonstop in the sport. I hope you get some rest. I hope you recharge. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for appearing on the podcast. Wish you all the best, Phil. And you guys, you can see Phil's handle, social media handle on screen. It's also linked in the show notes. Make sure to go listen to TSFP podcast as well. Thank you so much, Phil.
Pleasure, man. No worries.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. This is now the Denzel Dumfries section of this podcast. We are continuing to review Real Madrid's players during the World Cup. And in Dumfries' case, we actually want to do more of a scouting report because we haven't really had a chance to speak about Dumfries too much since we signed him. Can't think of anyone better than Siavoush Fallahi, who is here, Serie A expert, followed Inter as close as anyone followed Inter. And we're going to bring in Siavoush to speak about Dumfries. Siavoush, how you doing? Welcome.
Oh, good. Thank you. And thanks for having me.
Of course. Yeah, thanks for doing this. I actually would like to start from maybe the beginning. For us, the Dumfries signing came out of nowhere. As someone who follows Inter regularly, did it blindside you, or did you see some writing on the wall?
So most of us, since he had a buyout clause in his contract, most of us thought he'd leave already last season. But surprisingly, there were no offers for him to activate the clause. I was thinking about Liverpool because obviously they lost Trent to Real Madrid, and they have a Dutch manager. So I was thinking he'd want to go there because his dream was to go to the Premier League. And then Real Madrid came out of nowhere. So it didn't surprise me that he left, but it kind of surprised me that Real Madrid swooped in. I'm not saying he's not good enough. I'm just saying there was no talk about that whatsoever. So we were a bit surprised, but it was something waiting to happen. And I think also during the celebrations, I think he was very cool and saying farewell to the fans for the celebrations of the trophy.
Can you bring Real Madrid fans up to speed on how good he is? Because I don't know if you're aware, but Dumfries is a bit of a cult, has a bit of a cult following in Real Madrid circles because of what he did to Barca in the semifinals. So we're a big fan of him, but I think myself included, I haven't really kept an eye on Inter in the past year to know how good he's been. I liked him in the World Cup. What level of football is he at, in your opinion, right now?
Well, I think he always has to be considered as amongst the best right backs in the world. I think when he came to Inter, he replaced Hakimi. And as you guys obviously know very well, Hakimi was fast, brilliant, technical player. So it took a while because Dumfries was in the beginning of his time at Inter mostly a defensive player. Was very difficult to pass him on the right back position. Was very difficult to beat him in an aerial duel or even in a 1 versus 1. He had a lot of battles against Theo Hernandez, Rafael, players like that, and they had difficult time getting past him. I think with time at Inter, he became more of a clutch point-making player, scoring goals, mostly with crosses on the far post, where he's very good on his header, but also getting points with assists and shooting. So I think he worked a lot on the technical part of his game, and I think he's become very complete. Also because he's always played in both the back three and the back four for Inter and the national team. I think he most of the time for Simone Inzaghi's Inter, the games you mentioned, he was almost like a right winger because he was the first one to attack and the first one to came back, but he was always very dangerous on the counter. So I think he became a very complete player. I think Inter lost the title last year because he got injured in the end. Because with him being there for the games with the form he had been I'm pretty sure that Inter would have won the title. This year, Inter had a replacement, so when he was gone for a couple of months, they could manage. But he's become a very complete and important player, and it's someone that you always want in your team because he's not ugly player, but he's tough. He's always paying attention, and you'll see him probably save a lot of goals in like last second tackles or on the line or when everyone else has turned their heads off, he's going to be there.
I know you mentioned earlier that you're not surprised that he left, but maybe surprised he ended up at Real Madrid. And I don't know if that was a Mourinho factor. Obviously, it was Mourinho seemed to want him. But the surprise being that Trent Alexander-Arnold is at Real Madrid. And it's maybe unusual that a club would have two right backs at that level. How much do you think he differs from Trent stylistically that would give maybe Mourinho a different option?
Yeah. No, I think Trent is probably the best ball playing defender in the world. I think nobody has his passing range, type of passes, crosses, and so on. I think Dumfries is much better athletically, defensively, and even as a size, he's a different body type to Trent Alexander-Arnold. But Dumfries doesn't come close to the passing skills or range that Trent offers. He's more of a finisher. I think he can put in okay crosses, but not the way Trent can. Also, he's not a playmaker. Like you would never see Dumfries on the central midfield, for example. That's just not him. So that's a big difference. I think also in difference from Trent, Dumfries is very skilled in playing different position on the right wing. I mean, he's used to defending, he's used to attacking, he's used to be a wide wing back, he's used to be a winger, he's used to be a right back. He can defend his penalty area and he can attack it with power, and that's a different from Trent, who will more rely on his crossing, his shooting, his passing ability.
Do you think that they can play together?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Dutch national team many times used Dumfries behind Frimpong. I think that's a way, if you want to play 4-4-2, for example, I think that can make sense because they can play together. I also think the person Dumfries is perfect to have in a team. Never caused an issue, never was had a problem, always a very serious person. He kind of looks grumpy all the time, but all his teammates says that he's kind of fun and a good guy, but he's very serious and very professional. So I think that it's a really good signing because when I watched Real Madrid last season, I really felt that they missed seriousness in the team, especially in the back line. So I think he can complement the team no matter how Mourinho uses him. And I absolutely think that they can play together. I really think that you can make use of both of them. And I think Trent is an incredible player as well.
Interesting. Yeah, that'll be really interesting to see them play together and how that would function. The Frimpong parallel is actually great. I don't know how in tune you were with the Dutch national team during the World Cup, but
yeah, they slaughtered Sweden.
Okay, so you have some firsthand experience. Obviously,
exactly.
the context is you're in Sweden, right? So in case listeners don't know that, I didn't watch every Netherlands game, From what I saw, I don't think Dumfries was the problem. I think Koeman had some wacky
Yeah,
ideas throughout. How would you explain what happened to them?
I think they're not managed so well. I
Yeah,
think also that they lack some attacking power. They were really outplayed against Morocco. But I think Dumfries, at least against Sweden, was the big difference. He absolutely tore Sweden apart in that game. I think he was good against Japan as well, but then Koeman went down on a back five and they invited pressure and they conceded a goal from a set piece. I also
right.
think Van Dijk didn't have a good tournament. I'd be a bit worried about him and Konate, but maybe Konate can do better. But Dumfries and the Dutch national team, I think Dumfries always delivered for the Dutch national team. I really think that he's been a standout player. He gets goals, he gets assists, he does everything that he's done at Inter. So I think normally you'd be a bit worried about the player from a back three or back five system, depending on how you want to see it. But I don't think it applies to him because he's played both in the back three and the back four for the national team as well. And to be honest, I think Netherlands were just eliminated by a on the day much better team. And even that said, they were just minutes from making it through anyways. Because Morocco scored in the end of the game while they were trailing lately. So it went to penalties. Morocco is strong there. But I think that they are underperforming, seeing the quality they have, especially in the back line and on the midfield. They have really good players.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned earlier that he's not, obviously no one's going to be as great as Trent in terms of his long range passing and the balls into the box. But I will say I was impressed with Dumfries' passes into the box during the World Cup. He had a couple of assists, and those ones that weren't assists were dangerous. Like the way he
Yeah,
whips it in first time, it's really
yeah.
it's a really
I
hard
think
ball
if
to
if you
defend.
can if you can get people running around him, he's a good crosser. Like he's very good at making the first time cross. Often for Inter that's happened as well. Often he'll power through and then find a cutback. So obviously it's unfair to compare him with Trent. I think Trent
Yeah,
is almost like having a David Beckham
yeah,
on your team because he has that type of crossing. But at Inter, it was more often Di Marco who makes the like spectacular crosses, right? While Dumfries was the one heading them in. So I think he can do everything because he improved all of that. Like he's been at Inter for a couple of years, I think 5, maybe 6. And in the beginning, he didn't have this type of game. He's worked hard. He's kept everything that made him great and made the team sign him from the beginning. But he's added technical and the crossing much better. And I think it's also since he has good runners at Real Madrid. I mean, Mbappe, Vini, and so on. I think they can help him. But I think he's gonna be more of a solid defender who you can always rely on and who will give Real Madrid some stability. You guys obviously had Carvajal, who, in my opinion, was the best right back in the world, and because of just what I said, didn't let anyone pass. And then now you have Dumfries who can give us stability. And if you need some different alternative, or maybe you're facing a low block, he's going to help you anyways, because you can put crosses in on him and he can crash the box. It's very, very, very effective, very difficult to face.
I had one final question for you before we let you go. As I was telling you off air, I have a mutual friend with you, and he's a huge Inter fan, and we grew up together. And him and I have an alliance because even though I'm a Madridista, he's an Inter fan. We both have this mutual dislike for Barcelona, and Inter have done us a couple favors against Barca
Yeah.
over the years. Do we? Do we share the alliance? You and I, like,
With,
do you have a soft spot for us for Real Madrid?
so when I grew up, I did because Ronaldo went from Inter to Real Madrid, and I became an
Right.
Inter fan because of Ronaldo. And then I obviously liked Real Madrid under Mourinho because the timeline was right. That was our coach. He won the treble with Inter, and he went to Real Madrid, and he faced Barcelona that Inter faced. But like 1 or 2 years after, I really stopped caring. I unfortunately for you guys, I enjoy both Real Madrid and Barcelona. Also, I work with La Liga, and like every week, the Real Madrid fans are calling me a Barca fan. The Barca fans are calling me a Real Madrid fan, and
Classic.
Yeah, so I just concentrate on Inter, but I can't unfortunately join the alliance. But I really wish Dumfries well. Like I can really cheer for him because one thing that stood out with him that I'll never forget was when Inter lost the Champions League final 5-0. I was in the stadium, and he was the only one who took the steps under the audience to say I'm sorry. So he went past and just showed his hand, head down. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, guys. Like, you did great. We didn't show up. And like that gesture, I think in the moment of that difficulties, it says a lot about what a player and what a character Real Madrid has got. So I will cheer for Dumfries, but I can't get involved in the Real Madrid-Barcelona rivalry.
It's okay. You can tell me the truth off air when we finish recording. But I honestly am excited about the character that you spoke about,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
a lot of Dumfries, and I honestly I didn't know that until you said all that. A lot of the Dumfries scouting reporters like, okay, he's an aerial threat. He's
yeah,
a good box to box wing back. He can attack. He
yeah,
can defend, and all these physical. But I
yeah.
don't think I've ever heard anyone actually go and break down like, oh, this is actually a great dude to have in a
No, he's
locker
a
room.
great
So that's
leader.
exciting.
Great,
Yeah.
great professional leader. Very good physically. He had some injury problems the last few seasons. Before that, he was almost never injured. But I think Real Madrid has brought a character, and honestly, he's not always going to be spectacular. I think some fans will find him a bit chunky, like technically, but I think he will give Real Madrid a lot. And also, I don't think it's a coincidence that Real Madrid signed him with Mourinho, because I think he really felt there was need to add professionalism and strong characters to the locker room, and mostly to the back line.
Awesome, man. This insight has been invaluable. Thank you so much, Siavoush. Appreciate your time. Wish
Thanks
Inter the
for having me.
best. I actually do have a soft spot for Inter, to be honest.
That's
I
good.
always have. A lot of like mutual players, like you said, Ronaldo
Yeah,
Nazario, Zamorano.
yeah.
I
And
mean,
Inter kept Barcelona from playing the final at Bernabeu. So
that's right. You guys did us a favor twice,
yeah,
at least
yeah,
twice. So thank you
yeah.
for that. Listen, everyone, you should go follow Siavoush. His social media is linked in the show notes. You can go in and follow him. And hopefully this is someone we can collaborate more in the future. Great guest. I really enjoyed this. Thank you, Sia.
Thank you.
Welcome, everyone, to the Arda Güler section of the podcast. I know that there are many, 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 many Turkish people who listen to this podcast who are looking forward to this segment the most. As you guys know, we have a big Arda Güler fan base. We have a big Turkish fan base. And I'm not Turkish, but I'm among the flag bearers of Arda Güler, one of my favorite players. And no one better than bringing in Ahmet Bob Torgut, who is the Turkish football podcaster. That's his handle, Turkish football podcaster. He runs a Turkish football podcast. You can find him on Twitter at Turkish football podcaster. Also Instagram by the same handle. Also Facebook over on facebook.com/Turkish soccer. Ahmet, how you doing? Welcome.
Kiyan, thank you very much for inviting me to your program. And I want to say hello to your listeners and watchers. You have a great podcast.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your kind words. Ahmet, I know that it wasn't the ideal World Cup for Turkey. Expectations were pretty high. And I'm sure like people who watch the Turkish national team more than I did maybe had different expectations. I know that a lot of people had Turkey as dark horses. They're a very fun team to root for. I think it's safe to say the expectations were not met. What happened?
Same thing I talked about on my podcast before the tournament started. Even when they won that, they got here a very hard way because they had to play those two playoff matches, and after that, and I think what it is, I talked about this a lot, and the golden generation with the Turkish national team that started with Arda Güler and Kenan Yıldız. We had very high hopes about them. And what happened, you probably see all the matches. The last match was not meaningless match. They beat United States, but I think Turkish national team, the players, the whole team, the coach made huge mistakes in the first and second match, especially on the second match playing against Paraguay when they were down 10 men, whole second half, towards like 50 minutes. Turkey could not score a goal. Even 1 point from that match would have made big difference. I think Arda Güler would have his name written all over this World Cup. I feel sorry. He's a good kid, good player. He's now back with Real Madrid. He's got his new coach, Mourinho. I think he's got a great future for him. But I think as a team, Turkish national team, including Arda Güler, did not play, did not perform well in the World Cup.
I think that's all fair to say, Ahmed. I remember, I think it was a second game, which you're also referring to. They had a lot of shots, but a lot of those shots were not clear-cut opportunities. They were long-distance shots or right at the keeper. And the fact that they didn't score a single goal from those first two games was mind-numbing. And they did eventually have a nice third game, and Güler played well in that third game, but it was obviously far too late. Well, do you see this Turkish team being built around Güler? Obviously, Yildiz is still there. And
well, there's a lot of talks about in Turkey now, after Hakan Çalhanoğlu, the captain of the team, who's getting old, that I think now everyone is talking about Arda Güler being the captain of this team because his football vision on the pitch and his football mind on the pitch, you cannot match it. He is the best player on this team. But he had very bad 2 matches in the beginning. But I talked about this a lot before Turkey national team came to the United States. I said they should have prepared this right after when the league finished in Turkey. Forget about those friendly matches. They should have the friendly matches here and pick the base center, the training center, better than Arizona. The traveling between the games from Arizona to the matches, also the hot weather, that caused a major problem for Turkish national team also.
Is there a debate in Turkey with regards to where he should play? I know with Real Madrid, a lot of people feel like he conflicts with Jude Bellingham. Where do you see that? Where do you see him as a 10, a little bit deeper on the wing?
Well, that's the thing. If you look at first two matches, especially first match against Australia, Vincenzo Montella put him in the wrong place. I think his place in the middle and behind the striker, he likes to direct the midfield, also the forward. He likes to take shots and score goals. Vincenzo Montella did not do this in the tournament in the first 2 matches. You saw Arda Güler playing differently against United States national team, but it was a meaningless match, so he played his right position. I think with Mourinho coming into the scene right now with the Real Madrid, Mourinho used to coach Fenerbahce. He used to coach Arda Güler. So Mourinho likes Arda Güler, and Arda Güler likes him. So I think, but if there's a lot of talks about Michael Olise is coming into the Real Madrid, they might get him. I don't know if it's true still. But if in that case, if he comes in, and I think Arda Güler might not see some minutes with Real Madrid, then things could go sour for Arda Güler. But right now, I believe it's his second day with Real Madrid training center. He's doing good. I've seen his clips. He's scoring goals. He's very anxious and excited to play for Real Madrid. I think this is one of the complaints from Turkish fans. How come Arda Güler and Kenan Yıldız did not perform like they did in their European teams? That was the biggest debate going on in the Turkish national team. and around the Turkish football fans. And I question that too. I love Arda. Arda is probably could be my younger son, and the way that he trains, the way that he prepares himself in the practice, he plays it with his heart, and when he's on the pitch, his head and toes work together. That's why I like him. But that just did not happen as a team for the Turkish national team. He even said, we played very bad in the World Cup. He admits it.
Yeah, it was really disappointing. Your point about how his head and his toes, they kind of work together. I like the way you put it, because I'm writing an article about it now that I haven't released yet. But one of the themes is that he's so good at, if another player makes a run off the ball,
Right, vision.
Güler will reward that guy.
Yep.
He sees it and he can execute it. He's one of
Correct.
those rare players who, like, if he sees something, he can actually execute a very difficult pass, very like point A to point B. He gets the ball there. He's very good at that. He's very good at rewarding people who make those runs for him, and that's why he was only 2 assists shy from
Yeah.
Lamine Yamal in La Liga this year, despite missing a bunch of games due to injury.
Right.
It's analytically speaking, he had a very impressive season.
Yeah. One other thing that I want to mention about Arda Güler and Kiyan, here's the thing. I know I talked about very good things about Arda Güler, but there's one little negative thing about Arda Güler. When he's
Okay.
on the pitch, sometimes as young as him, after 70 minutes, he just stops. He doesn't run like in the beginning of the match. He has to last on the pitch at least 90 minutes or plus. That's why I think, if you ask me, because he's very young, I think he needs to lose a little bit weight, work on that, and he needs to get a little faster. When you play in midfield, you need to be quick and fast the whole 90 minutes. That's one thing that I see negative about him. After 70 minutes, he intends to drop down. And you could see that last season, in Real Madrid matches, and the coach took him out after the 70 minutes. And you could see that. I hope this season with Real Madrid, if he plays, he should at least be a 90-minute football player.
Well, interesting that one of the players he gets compared to the most is Mesut Ozil. And Mourinho always took Ozil off after 60, 70 minutes.
Right.
When he kind of ran out of gas. I did want to ask you one final question.
Sure.
With Turkey and Real Madrid, we haven't had too many Turkish players in our history. Funny enough that the other two that I can remember, Sahin and Altintop, were appeared during the
he
Mourinho
lives in
era.
United States now.
Okay,
Altintop.
yeah, and they played under Mourinho,
Right.
and but I think this was the first time really we had like a Turkish fan explosion in the Real Madrid fan base, which was awesome.
Because he's at the very young age, and his future is bright with Real Madrid, and he likes being in Real Madrid. And I hope he doesn't make the mistake that a couple of years later on, a lot of these Turkish players that played in Real Madrid or European big clubs, they they were homesick, they came back. I hope he doesn't do that, but I think his father and his mother and his sister lived with him in Madrid, so I don't think he will be homesick. So I think he's got a good head on his shoulder, and he has to get better at this age so he could be a superstar. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I said in the beginning of this tournament, I said Turkey could be the dark horse of this tournament because of Arda Güler. But I think one person, if it's not going to make any team, is going to be a dark horse. I think Arda Güler had a bad tournament with all other players, even the coach of Vincenzo Montello. He had the worst tournament in the World Cup. I mean, he talks about, oh, we dominate the plays and all that stuff. But on the paper, how many shots you took on the goal that counts? In 2 matches, you took 62 shots, only 15 of them, and you took like 25 corner kicks. You did not score anything on those corner kicks. Those
Yeah.
are the real stuff that you want to talk about, not the things that 62 shots you took it and then it went hit the defense and all that. That was nonsense. I think Vincenzo Montella, with that comment, he did not make any mistake, any you know anything that reasonable. Any
Yeah.
comments?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, Güler is young, Yildiz is young. It'll be really interesting to see how Turkey bounce back in the Euros and the next World Cup. There's a lot
Well,
of
yeah,
yeah.
and then in September the Nations League coming up, so
Hmm.
those players going to be very busy between their team, their club, and the national team, because come September there will be Nations League starts, and Turkey is in a tough group with France, Italy, and I believe Belgium is there too. So it's going to be tough for them. It would be good things for if they want to prove themselves in this tournament coming up. This is the time, I think. Well, Arda Güler has to start with Real Madrid first. Let's see what change we will see with Arda Güler this season with the Real Madrid team.
Definitely, it'll be very interesting to see how Mourinho uses Güler and how he'll continue to develop, because he's gotten better every year. It's pretty
Yes.
fun to watch his development. Ahmed, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. All the best, and everyone, please go check out Ahmed's channel, Turkish football podcaster, making his first Managing Madrid podcast appearance. Thank you, Ahmed.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, it's time to put a bow on this podcast. We brought in Matt Wiltse, and we're going to discuss whatever needs to be discussed from this World Cup. We're going to go through the winners and losers from a Real Madrid perspective. We're going to get Matt's thoughts, because if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Matt has appeared once during the whole World Cup. So that's unacceptable. I don't know how that actually happened. I guess a combination of vacation and being a dad and also being at work and also going to the games, because he went to 3 games in Dallas. So it'll be good to get Matt's perspective on everything. First things first, Matt, welcome to the show after a little bit of a hiatus. How was the World Cup experience?
Hey, Kiyan. Yeah, it was great. It was a really great experience. I don't know if you guys, if the sentiment was kind of the same in Canada but a lot of this, I really love the fact that you saw these clips coming out afterwards, and like tourists interviewed and fans and everything. They're all like, wow, the US is so much, like, people are so kind and this country's
Yeah.
great. And I was just like, yeah, this is, it was nice to kind of see that. And they're like, wow, my view of the US has been so manipulated by the media that it was nice to see all these people coming together and people being like, oh, wow, yeah.
100%. I think that if we were to put this in like a winner losers category, the winners would be the people, the human beings.
Yeah.
Who's like, I forget who said this to me. I don't know if it was a cousin or a family friend. It was, and something along the lines of like, we should acknowledge just basically all of our problems come down to bad governments, because the people are lovely. And you just put together like how many nations in this continent together, and they're all just partying, singing, hanging out,
The vibes
and
were really,
having a great time. Vibes. I mean, Toronto, the vibes were incredible. I was in New York for a little bit of it, and every day there was a different country and their people just singing in Times Square. One night it was Brazil, then it was Argentina, then it was Morocco, and it's just one day it was Norway, and of course there were other fans lingering and just dancing together. Like that stuff, that's to me the greatness of the World Cup.
yeah, it is.
Yeah, it was incredible to see. Yeah, you're right, 100%. So I have a list we're gonna go through, and I'm going to label them winners or losers. and we're gonna basically use that as a launching pad to discuss all the Real Madrid stuff that we want to discuss from this World Cup. And I thought I would start with my first one, which is Jude Bellingham is a big winner from this tournament. I thought he was amazing. I thought just the fact that there were so many conversations, negative conversations about him heading into the World Cup, so many people doubting his character, so many people doubting his talent, his fit, saying that he mastered the art of looking busy, whatever the hell that means, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. He's leading defensive metrics, offensive metrics, and beyond all of the stats. The eye test told us that his team was struggling in the Azteca, high altitude. They needed someone with big balls to show up and just carry them, drag them out of it. And he was the guy, not only with the 2 goals, the goal line clearance. And of course, like the Argentina game was just a disaster and really was a huge bummer, unfortunately, the way that ended for them. But all things considered, I guess nice little cherry on top was that incredible goal against France in the 3rd place game. Jude Bellingham is a big winner of this tournament.
Absolutely. I mean, this was unbelievable World Cup. I think it almost, as much as it was a detriment to Real Madrid that he was injured for so long, given the shoulder surgery, and then he came back and he got that hamstring injury, and he could never he really only started to get some rhythm towards the end of the season. That I think that actually favored him for the World Cup, because he didn't have a whole season behind him dragging him down. Like, he was fresh, and so I think that really made a huge difference for him. I think Tuchel actually talked about that prior to the World Cup, and he was just the man for England. Him and Harry Kane, but in the Azteca, like you talked about, Kiyan, like that match and that game will go down. It will be legendary for him and for England. And all the noise that you mentioned, really, it was mostly from England. That's the funny thing, is like they don't realize what type of player they have on their hand. They do now. Like, you see all the pundits and everyone there. I think they were blown away. They're like, oh, wow, they didn't realize Jude was this good. But you and I and all the Madrid fans, we've been singing his praises. And I remember his first season. I remember a lot of our podcast episodes afterwards, or you and I were talking, I'd be like, man, I realized he was really good at Dortmund. Like, I wanted him. I 100% believed he was worth 100 million or 120 million, whatever we paid. But he's even better than I thought he was going to be. Yeah. And that's the testament to him. Obviously, the last few seasons, I think it's not, I wouldn't put it on him in terms of, from a Real Madrid perspective, the dip in form, the inconsistency, it's just been a shambles. And he's been one of the few guys that's still doing everything he can to try and make it work. And this last year, obviously, with the injuries, like I mentioned. So I'm very, very interested to see how it plays out with him and Jose Mourinho. If you remember, do you remember from the Champions League final, he had his mom go talk to Jose because she had like a crush on him or something, and he has a really good relationship with Jose. So I think those two are I think Jose is going to love him, and I think those two are going to do exceptionally well together. So I'm excited to see that.
I mean, like, I just don't understand how any coach wouldn't love him, because he will do anything you ask him to do, plus more, because he's also talented as hell. I think the thing you said about a lot of that controversy and the negative takes coming from English media themselves is probably a byproduct of them not watching Real Madrid regularly.
Oh yeah.
That's generally a thing that happens with a lot of these English pundits. They watch us play like once a month in the Champions League or whatever.
Yeah.
And I felt like there was, on a different level, some of that dialogue existed about Trent Alexander-Arnold throughout the season as well. And obviously Trent didn't make the cut for the World Cup squad. And then there were really real question marks about should he have made it, given that recent James has injury concerns. And then they had, was it Kwanzaa who got the red card?
Yeah.
I remember a lot of the dialogue from Trent, and I think I even did a social media reaction, like Instagram reel to it, reacting to something that the pundits were saying. At one point, they were like, Trent Alexander-Arnold is not a good right back. He's not even playing under Xabi Alonso, and no one cared to even fact check to like explain it to them. Like, no, actually, he's just literally injured. That's not why. Xabi Alonso has no vendetta against Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's just literally injured. So it's just like little things like that. And I actually thought Trent, when he came back, he started to get on the ball really well. We started to see his long range distribution. Was it the Bayern game in that first leg where he was incredible? Remember that one? Yeah. So, you know, he started to look like Trent again, but maybe that's just a different point. But yeah, I think Bellingham was incredible. And I wonder where like you put, how do you think Real Madrid fans across the board like would feel after a tournament like this? Because a lot of the narrative that comes out of this is that, you know, Barca won this World Cup. They had 8 players and, you know, playing for Spain, and then they had Messi on the other side. If you look at it, this is from a Real Madrid standpoint, it's actually pretty wild success that no one's really talking about.
Yeah.
The players dominated this tournament. 21 goals, I think it was, and 15 assists all in all, far and away the most of any club in this tournament. And I think on one hand, it's bittersweet, because on one hand, you're like, oh, phew, thank God our players are awesome. It's not that they declined over the last 2 years. They're amazing. Mbappe is amazing. Jude is amazing. Vinicius is awesome. Brahim Diaz is awesome. On the other hand, it's like, wait, can we have, what's the point of this? Because we don't care about that. We want them to do that here. We don't want Mbappe to be awesome with France and then come to Real Madrid. Like, Mbappe's pressing numbers were like up during the World Cup. And so I don't know. Like, how do you think Real Madrid fans should feel after watching something like that?
I sadly feel kind of like the same as I have the past 2 seasons, and I feel like it's something that I've been saying over and over. The difference for them in these contexts in this World Cup is they are the man for their team. They are the one alpha. As Vinny's the alpha for Brazil, Mbappe is the alpha for France, Jude's the alpha for England, and even Brahim is the alpha alongside Ashraf, but he obviously is a wing back for Morocco. So
yeah,
that's the difference. Like, yeah, we could get that out of all of them if we decide to pick basically who we want to be the alpha, and if the others get in line, which I don't think they will, given the egos involved. And so I think you run into the same problems, and we know that these profiles don't complement each other. And I just think it's the same thing over and over again. And I said, Real Madrid has to make some big decisions this summer, and I don't think they've made them. They haven't made them this far. And I don't think they're going to make them. And it's now up to Jose to be the one to have the balls to make them. And I think he will. I think we'll see. I mean, I think he will. But at the very least, I'm of the opinion, and I know it can differ amongst every fan, but I'm of the opinion that Jude should be the guy you build around. And maybe you pick 2, like Jude plus Vinny or Jude plus Mbappe, but I think it's got to be that. I don't think you can build around all 3 of them and fit them and make them all happy. So you've got to decide what you want to do there.
I agree. And I said something similar earlier during the World Cup, where I think if you look at the alphas in France, their positions don't conflict, right?
Yeah.
And it's like the reason why Mbappe can coexist easily with Barcola or Doué on the left is because Barcola and Doué are not going to demand a primary role. They're happy getting less touches, or happy kind of fading into the background and doing some dirty work or whatever. Dembele's on the other side of the field. Olise is in a completely different area on the pitch.
I mean,
like,
you could argue even Dembele is he's sacrificed himself for the good of the team, a Ballon d'Or winner because he doesn't technically play on the right wing anymore. So,
well, I mean, I think,
or number 10.
I guess the question is, theoretically, it's still it makes sense that they can all play together at Real Madrid with Vinny and Mbappe, but I just don't think that they've accepted certain roles. Is my point. That's the point I've always made. It's that, like, at some point, this is what Benzema said. If you think I'm stupid, then listen to someone way smarter than me.
Yeah.
Benzema literally said this. He said, like, someone has to accept that they're not the alpha there.
Yeah.
Like we knew, like our purpose was to serve Ronaldo. Like that was it. And I don't think they've come to that realization. I mean, it's a little bit easier to build around Mbappe in France because Mbappe has been there since he was 18.
Yeah.
He's only arrived at Real Madrid for 2 years. So I think for him to come over and take over like that was very challenging for the players in the team.
Yeah, and I mean, you make a great point there, and I think we see on the big nights in the Champions League nights, they're more willing to do it. They're more willing to put in and do those roles. But because it's so inconsistent throughout the year, and when you go to play Valladolid and you go to play Getafe, and that's where a lot of it, like think about all the points we dropped this year when we were +7 ahead. How many games did we that stretch with Xabi Alonso in like November, December, where we just kept dropping points against smaller teams? Like they don't want to do it. That's when they don't want to do those roles. And that's when they all think they're above it. And then you get to the big games and they're willing to do it, but then you can only get away with it because it's not ingrained in you. And so the habits aren't there. And so you eventually get found out by the smallest of details.
I don't know if we need to cover Mbappe more, but I mean, I think he's a winner of the tournament.
Yeah. Okay.
With the caveat that everyone in France stunk it up in that last game against Spain. Maybe that's almost the nature of playing Spain. That is just like Spain are just fucking awesome. Like they're so good that they pulverized France, and Argentina were lucky that it was only 1-0. So maybe that's part of it. But I think it's fair to say Mbappe was not good in that last game against Spain. I don't think anybody was. But overall, I thought he was spectacular. Him and Olise both.
Do you think it's because I saw that he's top scorer. He got Golden Boot La Liga, Golden Boot in the Champions League, Golden Boot in the World Cup. Yeah, he didn't win any of those. Like that's
been the story of his last 2 years.
Yeah, like it's. I find myself like grappling with okay, you see his defensive numbers and his pressing numbers, and yes, they were improved in this World Cup, but they're still amongst the lowest. In last season, amongst the lowest of all attackers, if not the very lowest. But yet, he's a guy that can score a goal a game. So it's hard to say, like, you can't find a way to fit that into your team when you have a guy capable of doing what he can do.
I guess with respect specifically to the World Cup, is there anything that he could have done differently? So I think at Real Madrid, like we can definitely argue there's, while he does put the ball in the back of the net, there is disjointed offense because of him. And then there's also the fact that he, it's a very permeable first line of defense because he does not work hard defensively. Yeah. With France, I mean, I think up until the Spain game, he was lights out. He did everything he could. In that France game, is there anything he could have specifically done to have prevented France from being eliminated against Spain? Because I feel like anyone would have lost that night. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I mean, I think France's problem against Spain was not an Mbappe problem by any means. It was a midfield problem, and it probably segues us into Tchouaméni discussion.
Yeah.
Like, where did you sit with his World Cup?
Well, I have him down as one of the losers, unfortunately.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a great World Cup.
I mean, it was a pretty disastrous World Cup from him for a variety of reasons. One is that I don't think he was very good. He wasn't up to par. Then he missed 2 games due to injury. When he was out, Kone came in and was very good.
Yeah.
Then he returned, and France's midfield crumbles. And on the flip side, and then he signed the 3-year contract extension at Real Madrid. On the flip side, everyone is begging to sign Rodri, who just dominated from that position. And I'm actually writing about this, and I think I'm going to publish it. I'm just kind of going over all the stuff how good Rodri has been, why Real Madrid didn't want to sign him when the season ended, the concerns they had, and how those concerns may have shifted now that they've seen Rodri play in the World Cup. And I think when you look at Rodri play, and maybe this is unfair because like Rodri is the best 6 in the world right now, but when you see Rodri play, that's exactly what Real Madrid need from the six. It's someone who is calm and composed, who can dictate tempo, who's comfortable under pressure. But in this World Cup, like one of the caveats was actually no team pressed him because no one dared to press Spain. They wanted to sit deep. So Rodri could play quarterback all day and no one even laid a hand on him. And then he set records with his progressive passing numbers. Like he had the most accurate passes in tournament's history. And then he had I wrote it down somewhere. It was actually really impressive. He had the most tackles of anyone in the tournament. He recovered possession 40 times. And I believe he had the second or the first most passes into the final third. And Real Madrid are going to play a bunch of teams like that who are going to sit in a low block and not pressure us. But at the same time, even if there are teams who do pressure him, you can rely on him, I think, in those situations. At least you need we've spoken, Matt, like so much about we've gone way too far in the direction of signing and developing young talent. And in the process, we lost leaders one by one. And now we have an opportunity to bring in a leader, a midfield leader, a guy who knows what it takes, who's won it all, and is awesome. He's literally the perfect six right now. So we have this opportunity to bring him. The guy's begging to come to Real Madrid. At some point, Mourinho probably has to do a roundhouse kick to Florentino to knock some sense into him. But and they very well may change their stance. That aside, this ties into why Tchouaméni was a loser of this World Cup, because in conjunction to him being poor, we also saw Rodri on the other side. I guess the question is now, because we re-signed Tchouaméni, can Tchouaméni and Rodri coexist in a double pivot or not? And if which case one of them has to sit, can you? These are all questions, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I think Rodri was unbelievable. I said on Twitter, I haven't seen a dominance in the World Cup like that since Cannavaro in 2006, like where one person just so dominant from their position, far and away the best player at the tournament. Like no doubts about him winning the Golden Ball. Same thing with Cannavaro. Like it was just match after match, particularly in the knockout rounds where they were the standout person for their team. And I think, like you mentioned, his metrics on passing and tackles and some of the things that we know Rodri for. But what surprised me, and particularly when I went to the Spain-Portugal game here in Dallas, and what stood out to me, which I don't think we got to see as much in the under the Pep system at City, is he's really athletic, and he covers a lot of ground. And there are times when he was pressing really high, like outside the opposition's box, and would win the ball. And in the Argentina game, there was that one transition moment where pretty dangerous moment, and he completely, like using his speed and his length of stride, shut down the counterattack. And I think some of the feedback that why Florentino Perez and maybe some members of the board weren't as wild about signing him outside of the age and the ACL issue was that he would have issues with counterattacks. But I don't agree with that assessment at all, particularly with what I saw in this tournament. And I think he's much more like a total midfielder than I realized after having watched him in this tournament. And I was thinking about it, Kiyan, like 2 years on from that whole Ballon d'Or controversy, and I still believe that Vinny deserved to win it that year, maybe Rodri the year prior. But you look over the sample size or the period of work over the next 2 years, even with Rodri's ACL injury, and Rodri's the one that's more likely to win a second before Vinny is to win a first. And that kind of tells you, like, yeah, this guy, he deserved to win a Ballon d'Or. Like, he is the real deal. I think in terms of criteria that Florentino looks for and resume, he's completed his resume has it all. He's literally done it all, including a Ballon d'Or, a Golden Ball at the World Cup. Like, this is the type of pedigree that Florentino like drools over. So yeah, I think, like you mentioned, the stance could change. We'll see. I hope it does. I personally hope it does, because I think he'd be a phenomenal signing. I think we talk about profiles and we talk about leaders. We need that. And to your point, Kiyan, on, hey, we've been investing in all these young guys that we need to develop. I think we've come to a point now, after 2 years of not winning anything and playing dire football, that we need some short-termism. Like, we just need things where we need plug and play. People that are going to come in, immediately fill a gap and solve things for us. We don't have time for, like, oh, we've got another 23-year-old that we're going to develop. This guy could work. No, it's got to be people that immediately come in and solve issues for us.
Luckily, I think Mourinho has recognized.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said, even if there's risk to that, like, I think you got to take that risk.
I mean, look, there's risk to everything. I think Mourinho has recognized that. If you look at,
sure.
Bernardo Silva is one of those examples.
Dumfries too.
Dumfries too. I forgot to put him on the list, but since we're on the topic of Spain, Cucurella, big winner, man. I am when the signing came. I remember. I think the World Cup had just started when we signed him. I don't know if it had actually physically started or not.
No, I don't think they played. I think it started, but Spain hadn't played a game yet.
Okay, right. It was definitely before Spain's first game.
Yeah,
and it came out of nowhere. We're all surprised. And I think even the most optimistic Cucurella enthusiasts about that signing didn't expect him to be this good, at least in the World Cup. I was definitely happy with the signing. I said at the time, like, he's one of those players you hate playing against. Would love to have him on your team. But then watching him in the World Cup was incredible. What an incredible experience. We definitely signed the best left back in the World Cup. I don't know if he's the best left back in the world, because Nuno Mendes is unbelievable, but Cucurella was an incredible signing. I felt that way. I would, at the time, I wouldn't say the word incredible. I would say good signing. I like it. Now I would honestly, just with the hindsight of the World Cup, I'm gonna just call it an incredible signing.
Yeah, I've never seen someone defend as well against Olise as he did. And he was on a yellow card for most of that game as well. And so, yeah, he match after match after match. And I love just the energy he brings. Like, he's up and down that wing. He's constantly providing an outlet on the left side. He's solid both ways. He's going to give you options both ways. And I think he's been desperately needed. And I'm looking forward to him joining. And I like that he's 28, and he's had a career path where Barca's youth academy, went to Getafe, went to Brighton, went to Chelsea, then to Real Madrid. Like, he's had, I think I kind of wrote about that earlier last year, that we need more of these guys that are coming toward with the maturity and an understanding of where they are now, because they've had this career where they've been at other clubs. They've got perspective on what it's like. They haven't been these multimillionaire teenagers since they were 18 in the Real Madrid bubble. Like, he knows what it means to now make it at Real Madrid. And I think that's going to be important for us. And he's going to come off with a ton of confidence coming off the World Cup.
I'm going to throw these ones at you now. Winner, Brahim Diaz.
Yes.
What do you think about his World Cup?
I maybe he didn't. I mean, he had 3 assists, I think. So he didn't. He wasn't
more. I thought it was 4, but maybe 4. It was 3. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't as prolific in terms of goal scoring like he was at the AFCON, but he still, I thought, was really solid for Morocco. Like, if I always like to take the vantage point of when I'm watching these games, of as if I didn't know this player, if I didn't know he played for Real Madrid, would I want him to play for Real Madrid? And when I watched Brahim in the World Cup, I was like, yeah, I would want this guy. And so that's he looked like Real Madrid standard in quality, and he was one of those guys from Morocco is just so fun to watch, and I I love tuning into their games, and he was a big part of that.
I think what was impressive to me, and like it reminded me, I actually wanted to bring this up with you because when I was watching him play in the tournament, it reminded me of the Lone Tracker days and how he was with Milan, because at Milan, it was kind of built around him. He was the 10. And Morocco's similar. And at Real Madrid, he will never get that. I think that's part of the reason why some of our players do look better at the national team level, because they're the hub of the system. And then you throw them in at Real Madrid, and it's kind of more confusing what their role is and getting them to mesh. But Brahim is one of those guys who's like a focal point of that Morocco team. I think you mentioned earlier the alpha alongside Ashraf. I like he's always had that like really nice low center of gravity that make him hard to dispossess. His ball carrying was good. He was pressing well, his playmaking, and he at least had, I think, 2 assists to Saibari in this tournament, but I think he had a couple more, if I'm not mistaken. Just very good player.
Yeah.
Loser, Fede Valverde.
Oh, man, I even forgot about Fede. Yeah,
I almost forgot about it too.
Yeah, that tells you everything. It was Uruguay were such a disappointment. I thought they were like, man, I thought it was gonna mesh well. Like, I just thought the Bielsa with the South American Uruguayan team, the passion, the energy, like I just thought it would mesh well, and it did not. And I honestly, that team's probably been on the decline after they lost Suarez and Cavani and some of the kind of the golden generation that they had. And yeah, I mean, Fede he just comes out of this again not looking great, given some of the things that came out afterwards. Where did you see the stuff on, like, apparently him and a few others in the Uruguay dressing room were trying to tell Bielsa like they shouldn't press and they don't want to do the certain tactics, and then he came off that last game and didn't have the best attitude, and so it hasn't been a good year for Fede.
Yeah, the whole team was a nightmare. And Fede, you would look to, because he's I think he not the captain of the team.
Yeah, he's the captain.
Yeah. And he was really disappointing individually as well, on top of the whole team being really bad. Think about like how like Spain ended the tournament for several teams. Like Uruguay was one of them, right? That was the game that Spain eliminated them. Then obviously Portugal and France. Then obviously Argentina. They made Argentina look so average that. But I don't know. Maybe with Argentina, I'm actually curious. This is a sidetrack. I felt like what happened to Argentina was, in some ways, inevitable, because I don't think they looked good all tournament. Weirdly enough, they really scraped by.
Yeah.
But then on the other side, I was like,
well, they didn't play anyone until England. Really, I feel like
that's right. But then there was part of me that was like, somehow they just find a way. I don't know.
I texted my brother. I was like, they're gonna shithouse their way to PKs and win this, aren't they? Like, it's just
and you know that Spain had no interest in going to PKs.
Yeah.
That would have been a disaster for them. Yeah.
I said if it did get to that, then Spain deserved to lose, given the amount of chances they had, and if that happened, then.
But also, like, there's a gear in Argentina that exists that they only went to that gear when absolutely necessary. They turned the gear on against England, although there's also the other side where England themselves botched it. They turned on that gear against Spain in the last like 4 minutes before a penalty shootout.
Yeah.
They almost scored twice. I don't know, like, it was really weird. But I'm thrilled that they did not win that World Cup. And I know Real Madrid fans were conflicted on who to support. For me, it was no question. It had to be Spain against Argentina. Okay, where are we? Why don't I throw it to you? These ones, the next ones, I don't really. Almost forgot. Winner Vinicius.
Yes.
That might be controversial for some. I don't know, because Brazil didn't make it very far, but I thought individually he was very good. I also think like there's not much he could have done with that Brazilian team. He didn't have much help. Yeah,
he was the man. He was the only one that played at the Brazilian level, really. And I mean, you think about it, that pass to, are we counting Endrick? Because that pass to Endrick in the
we should talk about Endrick.
In the Norway game, that was from where he got that breakaway. It was from outside of the boot pass from Vinicius that played him through. And I mean, that was the game right there. And it's obviously a lot of pressure on 19-year-old Endrick, but he's got to put that away. He has to.
Yeah.
And I think Endrick comes out of this as a loser in the World Cup. Like, I don't think over the last 2 years where he if you think about where he was, like the magnitude of his reputation before going to Real Madrid and now the 2 years after, I don't think he's lived up to that. I think his Lyon spell was solid, but there were still a lot of games where he wasn't great. And there was actually Fonseca called him out. Did you see that one press conference where he called him out for not and actually put him on the bench the next game for not doing the defensive
that's
work?
right. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think I like Endrick. I want him to succeed. I want him to do well, but I'm less convinced that he's going to be. If you would have asked me even just a year ago, I would have said, yeah, he's going to work out. But I'm getting less convinced that it may work out for
him. The World Cup. I mean, I'm sympathetic with him with the miss. I mean, he should have scored, but I think he was so cold and without much confidence because Ancelotti just did not play him at all up until that point, like barely, right?
Yeah.
And so I think and then you come in like the most pressure popping moment. You have to score that, and maybe he would have scored it if he had like a run of games where he has more momentum.
Well, and then he got moved to the right wing when Neymar came on, and that just totally didn't work. And I think didn't he lose the marker on one of the Norway goal or a cross or something?
Can't remember.
Yeah, playing on the right wing, and so I think, I would have preferred to see him just stay. Like, he got the chance, he created that chance with his run. Like, at least give that a go. I don't think it worked when Neymar came on.
Yeah, the whole decision to take Neymar is another thing. I mean, I don't. It's 2026, man. Like,
yeah, I mean, whereas Luis de la Fuente got everything right, I don't think Carlo Ancelotti got everything right.
This is one of the things that is very clear to me about international football, Matt. It's like it's the well-coached teams that win in the end. Yeah. You look at Roberto Martinez in Portugal. It's like, I hated it. I hated every second of it.
I was there at that game, and he ruined it.
Right? Yeah. I couldn't believe what I was watching through that entire tournament with them. So. And conversely, Spain were the best coach team in the tournament, no question. You can't tell me that Spain. Maybe you can. I don't know. I don't want to be disrespectful to Spanish players. I don't know. I don't think they're more talented than France. I don't think they're more talented necessarily than England, even. But they are collective. They understand the assignments. And I just, even Portugal. Like, how can a midfield of Vitinha and Bruno and João Neves look like that? It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Which maybe leads into the Bernardo Silva discussion. I don't really know. Like, the next few names I don't really have winners or losers. I think maybe I kind of lean on loser towards Bernardo Silva. I don't know if that's harsh or not, just because he didn't play much. I don't think he was great. I don't think he was terrible. I do understand that you can't throw in all those midfielders together. Someone has to sit. So I don't really know. I feel like by the end of it, Real Madrid fans felt really depressed because they saw that we had a choice between Rodri, Bernardo Silva virtually, and we didn't go to Rodri. We went to Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva, I don't know if it was the right choice, and who knows, maybe Rodri will still come. And I also said this. I think this is a fair thing to point out. And obviously we passed up on Nico Paz, but I think it's fair to point out that Bernardo Silva, to me, shouldn't be looked at as a superstar midfielder that comes in and solves our problems. I see it differently than maybe some people do. I see him as a depth piece, insurance, experienced veteran, can come in as if you need control, can come in if you need defensive work rate, can come in if you need experience to close out a game. I think you said it on Twitter. I think he's basically an upgrade to Ceballos in the depth chart.
Yeah.
I don't think he comes in as the guy who's like going to solve our problems in midfield.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what Mourinho does with him, because it seems like he was a petition or request of Mourinho.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious to see like what he sees as his role, because I could honestly see it being a starter. I could see it being a role player. I could see multiple different pathways for him. So it'll be interesting to see what Mourinho decides.
Yeah, definitely. I could see him. I'm not saying he's not going to start. I would kind of maybe say he's a rotational starter. I don't know if he's
I think if you do get Rodri, I think both him and Bernardo are going to have to be managed well.
Yeah,
especially Rodri coming off an ACL injury. Like even De La Fuente like would sub him out in these games. Like you have to manage him.
that's another case to get Rodri. I mean, I think about like more injuries than ever, more football than ever. Mourinho likes to be too deep in each position. And that is a good case because like if with Rodri, it wasn't just a combination of knee and mostly hamstring problems. And if you want to have him fresh for April and May, but it works the other way too. If you want Tchouaméni fresh, if you want, Fede fresh, you can rotate these guys. I feel like that would be a good option to have.
Yeah.
Dumfries, I would lean towards winner with him. I was impressed with him. Maybe not as impressed with Netherlands as a whole.
Yeah.
One thing that impressed me the most, and we already know like his aerial ability and his physical attributes. His balls into the box are awesome.
First time cross.
Really nice. Yeah, dangerous. One first touch, just whips it across goal. I think he got a couple of assists from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's I think it's gonna to have him and Trent, like that's gonna be I'm actually again curious to see who Mourinho opts for. I don't know who his preference will be when the big games come rolling around, but I think Dumfries is going to be a really good pickup. Just given his everything he brings to the table, even his physical stature, like that will help in the back line. And so I'm excited to see how it works out.
Arda Güler, I think loser. And despite him having a good third game against your United States, the first two games were really disappointing. And then
he was amazing against the US. He was amazing.
Yeah, he was. And I maybe you replay those first two games, and Turkey win those games 9 times out of 100. But I think because the big stat that circulated was that they had like over 60 shots and 0 goals, right?
Yeah.
There weren't clear-cut chances, but they still came up with, I think it was like 3 XG or something, and they still didn't score. But they still look toothless, and I still think they lacked someone who can put those balls in the back, and they lacked a target. Güler, I don't think he was good on the ball. And then you also see Bellingham, his main competitor in the team, having an astronomical World Cup campaign. So that's why I put him in the loser category.
Yeah, I mean, I've got that US game imprinted in my head because I watched it closely, but from that perspective, he was really, really good. And I agree, he probably comes out a loser in this, but I don't think it's on him by any means. Like if anyone on Turkey, it's not on him. But they were not the team that we saw in the Euro a couple of years ago. That was so exciting to watch. And like, we were all eager to tune into those Turkey games. So they've got work to do to kind of get that back.
To be honest, I have nothing on Rudiger. I don't.
Yeah, he's a loser. I guess
he is by default.
Yeah, I mean, he only came in when Schlotterbeck got injured that knockout game, right? And they lost to Paraguay on PK. So
I think that only leaves one player left. And it's maybe not a player we're expecting, but Nico Paz. And
Did you expect him to play so little? Did he play a single minute? Yeah, he played in one of the group stages.
He came in off the bench in one of them, I think.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple things I'm surprised about. First of all, I think if you told us like back last summer if Masantuono would not exist at this point, I think I'd be surprised because he was playing with the national team back last summer and the fall.
Yeah.
And he was starting some games.
Yeah.
And he was like linking up with Messi, and then there was, obviously we saw how the season went with him, but Nico Paz, given the fact that he was Serie A's best midfielder, didn't even. I guess the complication is obviously that Messi plays in his position, so there's only so much wiggle room there. But I don't know. Maybe the winner is Real Madrid for like just a few months, because if Nico Paz came in and had an amazing World Cup, they would have had more questions to answer.
Yeah.
As to the main, I hadn't talked to you about this actually. I think the main thing with Nico Paz is that, and I know you said this was a good deal for us, and it is, given the fact that he's literally a Castilla player and we have paid nothing for him. But I think if you don't exercise the buyback option next year on the 80 million, then how much money did you leave on the table not selling him to a Premier League club for like 100 million?
Yeah.
This year.
Do you really think we could get 100 million though?
I don't know, dude. You tell me, because
I feel like we never get that.
I just see that there are players far inferior to Nico Paz going for 117 million.
Yeah.
With all due respect to Rodgers.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but maybe we're just not as good as draining Premier League wallets. We got a pretty good fee.
Well, now, I mean, you see what Aston Villa's doing now. They're buying, what's his name? I'm blanking on his name. The Argentinian kid with the blonde hair on Chelsea, the winger.
Well, now you're putting me on the spot. I lived under a rock the last couple.
Oh, Garnacho.
Garnacho.
Yeah. So
I
apparently
they're going to buy him.
They're going to buy him for like an inflated rate, so it's some kind of FFP workarounds that they're doing, I think.
So, like, how much is it?
I don't know. I just saw something on it earlier, but I don't know how much it is.
The argument, I guess, is to
40 million, 40 or 50 million.
Okay. The argument for the Como sale, if you don't exercise the buyback next year, is that Real Madrid want to maintain good relationships with Como and perhaps use that as a pipeline. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's everyone. Is there anything that we missed in this discussion?
What do you think about? This is kind of somewhat related, but Mbappe's now going to have Zidane and Mourinho as his two managers.
Interesting. Yeah, I never really thought about it too deeply, but I'm excited for Zidane era France.
Yeah,
that'll be fun.
I am too.
He's got
work to do with that midfield. I mean, we talked about Tchouaméni, but I think you're right on like when Kone came in, like just the tempo, everything was, the team played better, and this has kind of been my issue with Tchouaméni. Like he's been very inconsistent for us. Like he'll have good months, and then he's off, and then the next 3 months it's why did we sign Tchouaméni? And then it's he's never been. He's had to fill the role of tempo controller, and that's just not who he is. And so, even more reason to sign a Rodri. But I think, like, I look over how many years has he been with us now? It's 4 years, maybe.
I thought 2022, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Could
so
be
4
wrong.
years. So I look over these 4 years, and I've been, versus what I thought we were getting versus what we've gotten so far, I've been kind of underwhelmed by Tchouaméni.
He's had spurts and moments and stretches, and then he's also had brain farts and falling asleep. I don't think to the extent of maybe Camavinga, but I think we're I think we would have expected more if you told us 2021, 2022 range, what we would have expected from both of those guys by now. We would have expected more. The fact that Camavinga is not even being discussed at all about Real Madrid's lineups and anything
Yeah.
next year is, it's telling when
Yeah.
that wasn't the case like a couple of years ago. But I think the one I'm more interested in the most, I feel like Mbappe and Bellingham, those two will probably be a shoe-in for Mourinho. I'm kind of just wondering where Vinicius' head is at. And this goes back to remember when the season was imploding and then Mbappe liked a post on Instagram that Mourinho was coming to Real Madrid.
Yeah.
And then there was the whole thing with Vinicius and Benfica and Mourinho's choice of words with the racism. I wonder where his head is at in all this. I don't know. And I wonder where Mourinho's head is at.
It is going to be very, very interesting to see how what Mourinho decides to do. Honestly, I'll be massively disappointed if it just turns out like we play almost the same team we did last year and we just do all the same shit we did last year, like for a third year running. I'll be so disappointed.
I think that's on the table just for
it is. Oh, it's absolutely on the table. If we insist on playing all these guys together again and trying to make it work, like.
Yeah, I think it's a scenario that it's not obviously not something we want to entertain, but why wouldn't it be on the table? Like, how much will fundamentally change with yet another coach when we've tried three coaches? So
the thing that I keep thinking about too is like both with Ancelotti and Alonso, we had like a 7-8 point lead kind of with Ancelotti, I think in January, we were still like 7 points ahead. With Alonso, it was like November. And we end up being like 7-8 points behind by the end of the season.
I do like that incentive that they put in Mourinho's contract that if he wins the league, his contract gets extended automatically. So, I mean, Mourinho is generally like a better league manager than Carlo, for example. Maybe just I think Mourinho will rotate more, just to avoid complacency. If there are bad performances and competition needs to be felt, that's an incentive at least. But yeah, I could see that scenario. I don't want to think about it, but it's possible.
Yeah.
All right. This podcast has been long enough when we put all these parts together. So thank you guys if you're still with us. Much respect to you. We doing our monthly Zoom call is this week on the 22nd. That is for La Liga tier members. Make sure you're signed up for that. And then a lot of content for members in general, like our weekly mailbag with Lucas Navarrete. So go to patreon.com/Managing Madrid. Alternatively, if you're on YouTube, you can simply hit the memberships tab of this YouTube channel and join there. Make sure to hit like, make sure to hit subscribe. Matt, thanks for joining, buddy. Good chatting with you. Take care.